These are some of the finishes and textures demonstrated in the series Copper Finishes and Textures. There are 4 videos in this series. Now this is all very simple stuff, easy to do, and I'm using very simple tools. You can use and then expand on these techniques. If you remember the video Copper Finishes and Textures number 3, you'll remember that I had a hard time keeping the threaded rod in place. I received a couple of suggestions on this. Strube suggested putting a 3/4 inch nut on each end of the threaded rod. This definitely helped. Now Love Tank suggested cutting a V-notch in a couple of blocks. This would act like a saddle for the threaded rod. Then I found a couple of 3/4 inch coupling nuts. Now this works very well. Very simple. This is some rubberized mesh I use for my kitchen cupboards. Had a piece left over, put it on the workbench, put the piece of copper on the mesh, do some texturing, and the piece does not move all around the table. Stays pretty much in one place. Convenient. I get questions if I'm using a brass wire wheel for the wire brushing. Now this gets a little confusing. If you look at the packaging, it says 6-inch brass crimped wire wheel. If you look further down, it says brass coated wire bristle. To satisfy my own curiosity, I took this old brush and cut off some of the wires, and the wires stick to the magnet. So it's definitely not a solid brass brush. This is one of the 2-inch square pieces of 16-ounce copper we have been working with. Now I can make this appear to be heavier by simply beveling down the sides. Using a file, this is only going to make a very subtle difference. Or I could use a piece of sandpaper. Just beveling the edge, tapering it down. That rounded edge will make the copper appear to be thicker than it actually is. I do the beveling with the wire brush. The copper is soft enough that the wire brush will take off just a bit around the edges, so that it's beveled evenly. Now this comes into play if you're doing a pair of earrings, for example, and you want them to look heavier, but you still want them to be light in weight. What I'm attempting to show is that you can use almost anything you find in your shop or studio to texture copper. For example, when I did this pine tree, I wanted the trunk of the tree to be gnarly. I wanted it to be rough. I had a piece of the tree trunk left over, and I thought, let's just see what happens. This 2-inch piece of copper has been annealed. And as you'll notice, I have 2 layers of sweatshirt beneath the copper. So the copper will have some place to go. If I did this straight on the welding table, the effect would be slightly different. As you can see, it's made an impression. A little hard to see right here. So I'll clean this up, and then we'll take a look at it. There, you can see the texturing. You could add a number of variations to this texture. As I pointed out, if you'll look around your shop or studio, you will find different things that you can use for texturing. And this is a good example. This is a lag screw that I cut off from something. I just had it on the table, so I brazed a handle on it, and this gives a completely different effect. The main idea here is to take these ideas and then begin to work with them and give them your own special twist.